Good morning. Our hand today is going to be King, Queen of Clubs. We are under the gun. We open raise, get called by the cutoff, and we're going to a flop. So I have a big stack. Villain is starting off with about 90 or so. I open raise with about this range. I think here we're looking at some looser players where ideally we wouldn't be including some of these weaker hands like 5, 7, 6, 8, 7. Try to stick to this tighter range because we assume we're going to probably get called in some place just based on some of the stats. So 51-15 here, 39-1 here, 26-7 here. We've got a lot of hands. I'm less concerned about this guy. I think he generally plays a little bit looser to see flops unless there's a raise, and then oftentimes he'll play a little bit more straightforward. But we give this guy calls. He's playing 51-15, just straight across the board, really loose. Sees a lot of hands, limps in, raises first in a little bit. Doesn't have a 3-bet, 0 out of 47. That could be he just hasn't had a good hand to 3-bet with. His called 2-bet stats, 22% for mid position, 40% for cutoff, 30% for button. Not a whole lot of hands here, but I kind of feel like we're looking at 50%, around 50% of hands is probably what we're looking at. And when we look at some hands, some notes, we've got called 3-bets in position, 9-5 suited, called 2-bets from the blinds with 8s, ace-5 off, 7-2 off. That 7-2 off I think is totally crazy. He must be in the big blind and must have been some other players that bet, and that's why he called. But it looks like he's playing a lot of hands. The limp and call to raise, 3s, ace-7 suited, jack-6 suited, 8-7, 5-4 connect. Those connectors, ace-3 off, king-8 off, 5-3 off. I think all of those we're gonna have to kind of include in this range. So this is the range that I put together. A lot of suited hands, a lot of junk, just junky hands. This is 51.1%. So this is what we're gonna go with. Flop comes out, king 5-4 with 2 hearts. And usually in this situation, when villain has such a massive range, we're basically going to be c-betting 100% here. If we break it down to kind of drawing hands, we're looking at, we don't have a whole lot of draws. We got the flush draw potentially, that's 10%, and then if you talk about 2-card backdoor flush draws, that's 18%. That means we only need about 9% or so for value, so something like that. But with villain being so loose, I think we are going like no made hands. No made hands are definitely a bluff. You're thinking maybe the pocket pair less than the top cards, kind of working into some of them are bluff, some of them are value. I just think 100% we're betting because villain has such a wide range. I mean, if you think about it, we've got 123 combos in our range versus villain who has 606 combos in his range. He can't possibly continue with all of these. So I think this is going to be a c-bet, and probably more on the larger side. Because villain has such a wide range. And the king's gonna connect. We'll get some value. So I did half pot. I don't think it can be wrong. I think it's probably preferred to go a little bit larger to that 2/3 pot size bet. But we bet here, so I think that's correct. Villain calls. What's he calling with? So we've got fold c-bet stat, 40% when he's in position, 70% when he's out of position. He's probably calling with anything semi-decent, so probably any of these pairs he's calling. Flush draw, open ender he's calling. It's questionable if he would call with his gut shot or not. Maybe we'll include it because with the gut shot, a player like this who's just playing a lot of hands going to look at it and think, oh, I need one more card to hit my straight. So I think a gut shot could be suitable. So he still has just a large number of hands. So almost 340 hands versus us that we have 123. So he still has a large number of hands, which means we probably are going to have to continue betting here. So he checks obviously, or sorry, he called. So we see the two of hearts, completes the flush. It's not the best card for us because he could have a flush draw, but when you look at the flush, it's only 11% of total hands at this point, and we also have a flush draw. So I think here we're probably continuing to bet. I don't know if we're betting 100% here. So I think we're probably betting like our nut flush draw. Like we know if we have the ace of hearts, we know villain can't have the nut flush. So I think we could continue betting with those. Maybe the second nut flush, possibly the third nut. Those are all pretty big hands as well. Let's get that out. So like trip kings, we're not gonna like turn that into a bluff. Like ace king, no way. Ace like aces, ace king, or ace queen. Okay, that's a little bit better. Let's take those out. I think we're betting sets, flushes. I think overpair and I think top pair is probably going to be our bets here. And then I think probably doing like ace five, maybe. We really would prefer to have something else to go with it. So, we do have all of these gut shots. I think that adding all of the gut shots will be way too much. So I think ace five could. I think ace. I don't like ace five. I think maybe as a bluff we're throwing in some of these hands. Six is a gut shot. We're gonna throw that in there too. And then maybe the middle pairs, the pocket pair less than. Maybe we're turning like sevens and eights into like a bluff. Maybe that just kind of gets us balanced a little bit. But we're going top pair plus. I don't think it's worthwhile for us to check and give a free card. I think villain has a wide range of hands, and I think villain's probably gonna call any decent pair. I think so. We're including those bluffs because we assume he's gonna start to dump a lot of these like weak hands. I think now we can go like half pot bet. Not sure if we would go 2/3, but I think a half pot's at least suitable. So we did do that, and then villain calls. So we're gonna go with our hand here. So we narrowed it down, and I think that's appropriate because we had 100% C bet, and then we're gonna have to pull it back down. But then villain calls. We ever raise? Let's check some raise stats. That's 1 out of 15. He raises a C bet. I don't know. Maybe. I think he might with the flush. Let's get some of these. I think the nut's probably just gonna call, and probably the king is too. Let's say he raises all of those. Let's get that there. Is he just calls? let's say he has all of those as a flush. Let's say he has his straight, his set, his two pair, his top pair. We're going to give him everything down to middle pair. We can give him nut flush and the second nut draw. We'll give him the third nut draw as well. And I guess we'll give him the open ender. So he did narrow his range a little bit. He still has a lot of hands here. So river's the 9. We went half pot here. Question is, what's he going to call with? I do think Villain's probably going to be calling with a lot of his like one pair hands. So let's see. We obviously don't beat those, and we're going to split. So we're going to color code the hands that we beat versus the hands that beat us. I think, and we'll leave in the hands that I think he'll raise. I think he'll raise the nut flush draw here. So pocket pair less than the top card. I could probably see him calling with those, and I'd like to think he folds everything else. So at that point, he's looking something like that, which we do beat a lot of his top pair hands. So I kind of feel like we bet maybe he can calls. I just don't think. Let's see here. Out of all of these hands, we beat 43.9%, and he's going to call 56%. Maybe this is the time now that we check. Like our top pair hands, we've got showdown value. Maybe we bet here. Maybe we bet with our flushes, we bet with our sets, and then our overpair, and then we check like our top pair because man, he's called twice now. And we only have a one pair hand, so that's the other thing to consider. We only have a one pair hand, so if we do those, then you're dealing with like some of these ace high hands that missed. That could be like our bet, and then we check. So maybe I don't really care for this bet because if we get called, we're probably gonna be beat 56%, unless he calls with all of the weak pairs too. And then when you look at it, yeah, we could get some value from it. So we bet. I'm gonna not include the weak pair. We're gonna say just that is what he's calling with. He calls. We see a showdown. He shows eights, so that is that pocket pair less than the top card. He called with that pocket pair all the way, so I managed to get some hands here, and that just is in that 43% that call, so we get some value. I'm just not sure if it was appropriate to get value there. So we did get 2 streets. We got a half pot bet on the flop, half pot on the turn. I think this could have been a check and then probably a call on that river. Because again, if we bet and we get called, I think chances are getting called that third time, we're probably gonna lose. So let's take some notes. He is in position. He called 50%, call 50%, call 50% on a king of diamonds, 5 of hearts, 4 of hearts, 2 of hearts, 9 of spades. So all the way down, called 3 bets in position, 9-5 suited. He calls in pocket 8s, and we win the hand. So happy for that, but as I said, I'm not sure that river bet is all that good. Again, calling 3 times, it's just most players are going to have a good hand. And while I did think he could call with those under pairs, um, it doesn't raise it up to over 56% or over 50%. So again, when it comes down to a value bet, it's a value bet when if called, we win more than 50% of the time, and I don't think we do here. So I kind of think our river play is going to be a check. So hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, you can look tomorrow for another hand.